Hi guys, welcome to Rally. I want to ask you a question today. Have you ever had this thing called Ready Brek? I don't know if you've ever had Ready Brek. Ready Brek is like this kind of fake porridge. You put it in a bowl, put some milk in, shove it in the microwave, 90 seconds later, porridge. And my kids, we got some recently and they love it. Every morning, get the Ready Brek, bit of golden syrup, and it's brilliant. See, the thing about Ready Brek is it's quick and it's easy and you're done. But real porridge, if you want to make it, it takes time and care and attention. Now, our world is into stuff like Ready Brek, isn't it? We like instant goodness, instant sweetness. But the message in our passage today is different from that. Jesus is saying that his kingdom is amazing and is incredible, but he warns his disciples in our passage today that it's going to be tough too. Tough times are going to come, and actually we're going to have to wait a long time for the really good stuff of his kingdom. We're going to get some of it now, a little taster if you like. But the really good stuff we've got to wait for, and in the meantime it's going to be hard. Chapter 24 of Matthew is prophetic words from Jesus. And here's something you need to know about how Bible prophecy works. It can be complicated, and it's messages about the future. But obviously they're written first of all to people who lived 2,000 years ago. And it was also written to people who really understood everything that Jesus was quoting from Daniel and Isaiah and other prophets in the Old Testament. And so when we read it, we've got to be really careful about how we understand it. And actually this passage is really debated by some people that are much cleverer than me. Now, I've done a bit of reading this week and tried to get my head around it. But let me say this, that some people may read this and actually might preach on this and have different views from me. And do you know what? They might well be right. But I think there's some big things that we can take from this passage that are true and good for us and that Jesus wants us to learn. Now, a lot of Bible prophecy works like this. I don't know if you've ever been to a lake and you've done some skimming of some stones. And as you throw that stone at the lake, it bounce, 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 bounce. And then eventually it stops bouncing and it lands in the lake. Now, Bible prophecy is a bit like that. People spoke words that were about to come true in the future, but they would also come true again and again and again before they finally land. So here in this passage, there's all kind of mixed things going on. Some things are about to happen, Jesus is saying. If you look at verse 34, truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have happened. Jesus is saying some of these things are going to happen within sort of the next 40 years. And they do. But some of what Jesus is talking about here is what we would call the end times. The final day when Jesus comes back. So let's jump in. The disciples start this conversation with Jesus. They're amazed at the temple, and then they sit down opposite the whole place of Jerusalem in like this little garden, and they look out over at Jerusalem. And the disciples, they were amazed at the temple, and Jesus is saying, well, listen, all of this is going to come crashing down. In fact, he says not one stone is going to be left on another. And just after that, he starts saying these signs that are going to come. Jesus said, watch out, verse 4, that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You'll hear of wars and rumours of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are beginnings of birth pains. The first thing Jesus says is watch out for fakers and fake news. Watch is like one of the big words of this chapter. And Jesus is saying the next few years, the disciples are going to see other people claiming to be Jesus, other messiahs claiming to be God's promised one. Jesus says, watch out. Don't be alarmed. Watch out for fakers and fake messiahs. And we see this, don't we? We see these fake messiahs. Jesus saying they're going to come in a disciples' day. They're also around in our day, aren't they? Yeah, there are some in the church, these celebrity pastors that claim that they have the only truth. There we see politicians claiming to be the ones who can save a country, bring it back from the brink. We see people on social media that have got the best lifestyle. This is the way you should live. These are the things you should believe. And Jesus says lots of people are going to follow them. They're going to have lots of followers. People are going to be into them. People are going to give them money. People are going to stop following Jesus and follow them instead. These people are often based on platforms of fear, aren't they? Fear immigrants, fear bad health, fear not being cool. Fear people who don't look like you. Fear the police. Fear politicians. Fear your future. Fear the climate crisis. Fear laws against Christians. Fear the mark of the beast, you'll hear some Christians saying. Fear the end of the world. Of JW's, Jehovah's Witnesses, knocking on my door 5 years ago. Oh, the world's in a crisis. Did you hear about these tsunamis and earthquakes? And do you see that stock market crash? Doesn't it feel like the world's falling apart? And I said to them, don't you think people felt that before World War II? As Nazi Germany started creeping across Europe. People definitely thought that last year, didn't they? A pandemic that sweeps the world. Jesus says, don't be alarmed. In fact, he tells us to live by faith, not fear. He says this, really tough stuff. Then you'll be handed over and persecuted, put to death. You'll be hated by nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and betray and hate each other. Many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. Jesus telling his followers, he's kind of warning them, this season is going to be tough. this between me going back up to heaven and coming back down to earth is going to be hard. It's going to be tough. But stand firm. And he gets more specific. He says people are going to fall away. The world is going to become a wicked place. People are going to hate Christians. And we see that, don't we? We see that not just back in Jesus' day, but we see that today. People hate Christians. People in lots of countries of the world lock Christians up. And in our country, Christianity is becoming more of a kind of obsolete, weird views religion. But Jesus is saying, don't lose love. Don't stop being faithful. Because we've got the only answer, guys. Jesus is saying his gospel preached to the world will come about. And this is the only solution, not fake messiahs, but this gospel. You see, because the problem isn't out there. The problem isn't in culture or just people's learned behavior. The problem's inside every human heart. Look, we've seen this tragic death this week of this woman on London streets. Looks like she's been murdered, possibly other things even worse have happened to her. And I've seen on social media the reaction. And some of it is really helpful and healthy wake-up call of the objectification of women that's been happening for years and years and years. The jokes in the playground, lads, was happening in my day too. And the world is waking up to this wickedness increase. But do you know what? The danger is the world hasn't got the solutions. There'll be new fake messiahs. There'll be new causes for alarm, new ways people try and spread fear. The only answer is Jesus. He's the only one who can deal with the problem of the human heart. Yeah, we need to make adjustments to how we live, but we do that because of our hearts changed by Jesus. So guys, Jesus is saying we've got to stand firm. Keep loving people. Don't let your love grow cold. Keep trusting in his gospel. It is the answer. So we're going to jump around a bit here. So we're down in verse 26. And again, see here, Jesus is saying, don't believe those fake messiahs. So if anyone tells you, there he is in the outer wilderness, do not go out. Or here he is in the inner room, do not believe it. For as lightning comes from the east, is visible even to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. And then we're going to jump down to verse 42. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day the Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would not have kept watch, and he would not have let his house be broken into. So you must also be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour you do not expect him. Who then is the faithful, wise servant whom the master has put in charge of the servants of his household to give them their food at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. Truly I tell you, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, my master is staying away a long time, and he begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkards. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him and an hour he's not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Wow, these are strong verses. And they start to hint at what we're going to see in the whole of the New Testament, that Jesus is coming back again. And we need to know 3 things about Jesus coming back. First one is that it's going to be obvious. Do you see that? He talks about it not being out in the wilderness where people tell you to go, and not being in a room, but it's going to be like lightning in the sky. Now, I'm a guy who doesn't like thunderstorms. Yeah, and you might know this about me. I really don't like a lot of things. You might call me scared of a lot of things, maybe. There's a thing about a thunderstorm. You know when it's going on. It's really obvious, isn't it? Everyone knows. If you're in a room, even with the slightest window, you can see the light flashing. And Jesus is saying that's what it's going to be like when he returns. There won't be any doubt or any question. Is this him? Is it not him? It will be obvious to everyone. The whole world will know at once. Second thing is you're not going to know when. Look at this astounding thing Jesus says in verse 36. But about the day or hour, no one knows. Not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. You are not going to know when. Jesus being very clear. He's saying even on earth, he didn't know when. He says this is going to be like a normal day. He gives the example of Noah's flood, where people were just hanging out, doing normal stuff, getting married. People will be on the bus, if there are buses in that day. They'll be just walking to work. We are not going to know when. So people will tell you, I've worked out the maths in the Bible. People will tell you, oh, that's the mark of the beast. Or all these other crazy things. Jesus says so clearly here, we are not going to know. But, he says, be ready. So then Jesus introduces us to this last bit, these 2 servants. Let's call them Bob and Fred. Bob gets on with what his master has asked him to do. He makes sure the house is clean. He does washing up. He keeps mowing the lawn because he's excited that his master is one day going to come back. And he wants everything to be great for him. Fred just gives up on what his master's asked him to do. He leaves all his tools, he beats up on his fellow servants and heads off to the pub early every night. Fred's after fun times only. He's after not what his master wants, but what he wants. And here's the final challenge for us. We can be like Bob or we can be like Fred. We can try and build God's kingdom on earth. Try and trust God that his kingdom is the best way. Keep doing what he's asked us to do. Keep loving God and loving our neighbour. Keep working out his plans. Or we can try and build our own kingdom. Leave God's kingdom out of it. Try and work our own way. Try and create our own little paradise on earth, or follow someone else's paradise. But did you see there the end of these 2 servants? You see Bob, when the master comes back, he's invited to join the master's family. He says, I'll put you in charge of everything. I'll make you kind of equal with me. We'll do this together. But not Fred. He's pushed out. In fact, the verse says worse, doesn't it? It says, it's not quite clear, I don't think. Cut him to pieces, assign him with a place with the hypocrites. There's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Listen, the Bible's very clear. when Jesus comes back, there's only going to be one kingdom, and that's his. And you've got a choice now whether you want to be part of it or not. And he says, here's the choice. If you want to be part of it, if you're working for it now, then you're going to be part of it forever. You're going to be in the royal family. We're going to do this together forever. But if you try and build your own little kingdom here now, if you try and do what you want and not what I want, then one day your kingdom's going to get flattened and you're going to get pushed out. You're going to be left where there's only the cruelty, where there's only the wickedness left. He's saying, don't do that. I want to warn you now. Watch out for that now so that you can join my kingdom forever. Let's pray. Father, these are tough verses. Help us to understand them today. Help us to trust you. Your kingdom is worth it and you want us to be part of your royal family and to join you forever. Amen. Guys, have fun in your groups. Have a great evening. See you later.